about Taiwan. I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Nvidia is finally getting its new headquarters in Taipei. The U.S. chipmaker has been eyeing 2 plots of land at the Shiling Beitou Science Park, but the project was delayed due to land disputes. Now, City Hall says it's been able to terminate the contract with previous owner Xinguang Life.
非常感谢星光人寿昨天和我们台北市政府顺利完成解约协议。当然，接下来我们就会进行包括土地计划变更以及设定地上权相关的作业，也希望最快可以在明年农历年前顺利和辉达完成地上权的签约。那希望在明年中的时候就可以顺利动工。
Taipei is expected to help Nvidia expedite its expansion at the site. 2 Taiwanese legislators have attended an international meeting in the Netherlands, hoping to expand support for Taiwan. The meeting gathers, quote, liberal and progressive democratic political parties worldwide and tackles international issues like global security. One of the legislators, Puma Shen, said in the video on social media that he was there to expand Taiwan's diplomatic efforts and to counter China's attempts to threaten the country. The trip comes after China launched an investigation into Shen for what it considers secession-related activities and suggests that it could seek an international arrest warrant for him. Shen says he hopes to show through international trips like this that such threats are ineffective.
我认为呢，要让这一个国人知道，其实中国它是纸老虎，它所做的只不过是一种很象征意义的对内的宣传。我们不应该因为这样感到恐惧。那也希望呢，让台湾人了解中国的这种法律战跟舆论战对我们其实是没有用的。
Shen said he has made several trips abroad recently to show he's not intimidated. The most recent U.S. arms sale to Taiwan is good news for the Indo-Pacific, says the Wall Street Journal. In the editorial, the journal said the potential $330 million sale could diffuse tensions in the Taiwan Strait. The paper says it shows America is investing in its Pacific interests against Chinese pressure. It also said Taiwan should be a priority for the delivery of long-delayed U.S. weapons due to, quote, urgent need. The sale, mostly of fighter jets and other aircraft parts, is the first to Taiwan under U.S. President Donald Trump's second term. 2 U.S. senators have introduced the bill to codify the U.S.'s 6 assurances to Taiwan. The assurances are U.S. foreign policy commitments dating back to the 1980s, which say the U.S. will not pressure Taiwan to negotiate with China, will not take a position on sovereignty over Taiwan, among others, that have been central to U.S. policy on Taiwan for decades, but have never been formally entered into law. This new bill would do just that, giving the assurances the, quote, full force of law, according to the senators who introduced it. They said in the statement that it will also ensure that any attempt to change the assurances would have to be reviewed by Congress. The Financial Times says Taiwan has agreed to give support to the U.S. chip industry in exchange for lower tariffs. The head of Taiwan's National Science and Technology Council told the paper that the 2 sides had reached the consensus, adding the U.S. will not, quote, punish Taiwan. Another U.S. official suggested to the FT that Taiwan may agree to investment in the U.S. of around $400 billion. The report comes amid talks to lower the 20% tariffs the U.S. has imposed on Taiwan. It also comes in the midst of a U.S. national security probe that could result in tariffs on Taiwan's semiconductor sector, which is currently exempted. U.S. President Donald Trump has given a deadline for Ukraine to accept a Russian-backed peace deal. But it would be a bitter pill for Kyiv to swallow, as it means giving up territory and shrinking its army, among other concessions. Tiffany Wong has more.
Thanksgiving. That's the deadline U.S. President Donald Trump has set for Ukraine to accept a peace deal, or else potentially lose U.S. support. The 28-point plan would require Ukraine to hand over unoccupied territory and cede Russian-occupied territory. Kyiv would also have to reduce its troops and drop its ambitions to join NATO. It's these terms, which Ukraine has previously said they would not agree to, that have placed President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in a difficult position.
Now is one of the most difficult moments in our history. Now the pressure on Ukraine is one of the most difficult. Now Ukraine may find itself facing a very difficult choice, either the loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner.
Zelenskyy said his officials are still working to put forward their own peace plan, but it's unclear if Ukraine will be able to make a proposal in time. Russian President Vladimir Putin has already backed the deal, and American President Donald Trump has shown signs that it's an offer Zelenskyy cannot refuse.
Well, he'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then, they should just keep fighting, I guess,
The suggestion that he made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine.
Well, at some point he's going to have to accept something.
European leaders have largely been left out of the U.S.-led negotiations, but the leaders of the UK, Germany, and France have reiterated their support for Ukraine's right to defend its sovereignty. They're expected to discuss an alternative proposal for peace on the sidelines of the G20 summit in South Africa. As winter nears, a peace deal could be the difference between life and death for thousands of soldiers on both sides. But a plan that grants Russia key demands at Ukraine's expense would be a bitter pill for Kyiv to swallow. Howard Dong and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Young bodybuilders are boosting Japan's struggling care sector as a creative business model brings in millions, attracts more talent, and enhances patient care. Aichi reports.
In Japan, young male bodybuilders are stepping up to ease labor shortages in the struggling care industry, taking on its physically demanding roles. With a tan and prominent biceps under a black sleeveless vest, care worker Yusui Takuya is among those who have built a rapport with patients at a care center for people with disabilities, operated by Visionary, a firm based in Nagoya. Yusui shares what he has learned on the job.
I've not taught you anything, right? Nothing.
Well, her hardworking attitude. As you can see, she can't quite use her hands, but she doesn't give up. She uses her mouth instead. That inventiveness and resourcefulness I find very inspiring. Hey, don't be so shy.
The company has attracted male bodybuilders with perks, like paid gym time and protein shake subsidies. It hired 168 people last year, after previously struggling to recruit even one care worker a year.
I started weight training while working as a military officer and participated in competitions. When I learned about Visionary, I was attracted to the idea of using weight training, which was my hobby, and my muscles in a way that could contribute to society.
With these employees putting the muscles to work, Visionary's revenue is now booming. Its CEO, Niwa Yusuke, says bodybuilders are suited to care work because they are used to hard training and strict diets, which can be a great advantage for caregivers who support the same clients every day.
Bodybuilders are extremely photogenic, cool, and the embodiment of tireless hard work.
With Japan's super-aged society, it's suffering from a labor shortage in the care industry, with nearly 4 vacancies for every job seeker. The Labor Ministry predicts a shortfall of 570,000 caregivers by 2040, driven by low wages that fail to match the physically demanding nature of the work. But the CEO says mature caregivers can help address this.
We need to become a more reliable industry, one where we can confidently say, leave caregiving to us. This would allow individuals to focus entirely on their work, learning, or pursuing other aspirations. Being able to clearly define and separate these roles is, in my opinion, essential for Japan's economic development.
In Japan, thousands of people leave their jobs every year to care for family, and even more are juggling work and caregiving at the same time. With men mostly absent from these roles, women take on the bulk of the responsibility. Now, the muscle care approach is stepping in, not just helping meet the demand, but also challenging the idea that caregiving is only women's work. Chris Ma and Aichi for TaiwanPlus.
13 people have been killed by bears in Japan since April. As several governments issue travel warnings, local authorities are taking matters into their own hands with an unusual tech-driven approach. Zalan Shatar reports.
A drone takes off over an orchard in Gifu Prefecture in central Japan. Using firecrackers and a loudspeaker, it barks like a dog, scaring off bears seen lurking in the woods.
Indeed, you don't really want to get hurt. I've had a few close calls myself, and then they glare at you, and
Yes, it's really scary when they actually look at you.
This high-tech solution has been deployed in Hida, a city that has seen 8 times as many bear sightings this fall, posing an ongoing threat to locals and tourists.
我们在做攻略的时候，就在小红书上看到有很多日本报道说有熊出没，好像因为今年的收成不太好，所以熊要下来找东西吃。然后呢，所以我们就准备了2个熊铃。
Across Japan, 220 people have been injured in bear attacks since April, a record spike in numbers. So far, 13 have been killed, with 7 deaths in October alone. The uptick has prompted the US, China, and the UK to issue travel advisories. And after a recent bear attack on a Spanish tourist, local governments are moving to respond.
When considering how to implement countermeasures, we examined whether to drive the bears away by hand or use dogs. Ultimately, we decided on a method that could be enacted immediately, and after careful consideration, we chose to use drones for bear deterrence.
As for bears, this is the first time we've used drones for bear deterrence. Recently, bear problems have become an issue in Japan, and this time we used the dog barking speakers to drive them away.
And the barking drone is just the first step. Officials are installing more warning signs and vowing to prevent more of these dangerous encounters.
You know, we are living in the mountain, and we are very, very familiar with the bears all the time. And then why can't I, avoid that in the first place? And then that was, pretty shameful for us. We are not gonna let that things happen again. Yeah, never.
With the bear population continuing to grow, the question remains, can Japan's high-tech efforts keep people safe and bears away? Scott Huang and Zelenskyy for TaiwanPlus.
The Penghu Islands of Taiwan's west coast are home to many fish weirs, home enclosures in the sea that bring in fish with each tide. But with modern industrial fishing and the island's shrinking population, many of them have fallen into disuse and disrepair. Now a group of young islanders is relearning the art of fixing them up. Eric Gao has the story.
Here in the Penghu Islands, in the middle of the Taiwan Strait, there's a long tradition of carefully stacking heavy stones like these in the sea to form fish traps. Called stone weirs, the tides carry fish into them, ready for the islanders to catch. They're tough to build, but good at what they do, taking the hassle out of getting fish from the sea.
好重，但是也是蛮聪明的。他们都是利用那个涨潮的时候，把很多那个大石头都搬起来了。
But while they're an important part of the island's culture, and some even attract tourists, many have been left to fall apart as modern fishing fleets make them obsolete, and young people leave Penghu for school and work on the main island of Taiwan. But there's a group of young people here in Penghu who have decided to turn this trend around with their own hands. They've set up a training program that teaches people how to maintain these stone enclosures, a cultural preservation project.
它只要一直办下去，这个人力就会一直流动。我很想要看到那个愿景实现的那个阶段，可是它必须要用很长的时间跟不同的方式方法，还有资源的引注去行动。
It's a tough battle keeping all the island's many weirs in shape, but this group of locals are determined to keep the knowledge of how to do it alive. Devin Tsai, John Van Trieste, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's end with images from Tennessee in the U.S., where a zoo is celebrating the birth of an endangered western lowland gorilla. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.